So the 49ers roster, John, and this is very unique to 2020 COVID football. The practice squad normally is 10 guys. This year it's 16.
Yeah.
16. There are guys on the 49ers practice squad I'm looking at going, Dante Johnson, he's like an NFL player. The guy, I looked, he's got 160 career tackles. That's not, those guys normally cannot be on the practice squad, right?
Guy, Deion Jordan, my last year in the NFL was a long time ago now. Well, I think 13. He got drafted in 2013. He's on the practice squad. Josh McCown, who we'll get into a little later, is on a practice squad. There are no rules for the practice squad. You can sign any human being to your practice squad, which my first takeaway, even before I saw the Niners list, just when I saw the Josh McCown story, shouldn't it always be like that? Maybe they can go back to 10, but should they have rules on the practice squad? Wouldn't it help elongate some older guys' careers if I could pay you $150,000 instead of having to pay you $1 million?
Sure.
If you're a player, would you rather be out of the league or would you rather be on a practice squad? Because I would say forever, I think a lot of these guys, Jonathan Cyprien, for an example, actually ran into it at the Bay Club last year. And it's like, God, this guy looks familiar. And he was wearing Eagles Nike shorts. So I'm like, you never want to be the guy like, you play in the league? And the guy's like, no, I just like the Eagles. You feel like, but I could tell, like, this guy, he just looked like an NFL player. And he had a necklace with his number. I think it was like 37. I'm like, do you play for the Eagles?
If he has a necklace with the number, that's...
Yeah, so the Eagles, so it was an easy one. Did you play for the Eagles? I used to work there. I know a lot of people there. He's like, yeah, I played last year on a 1-year deal. I'm like, what's your name? He's like, Jonathan Cyprien. I'm like, oh, fuck, I remember you, FAU or whatever. So we started bullshitting, and turns out he was here rehabbing, and then he got signed to the Niners during training camp. But he had said a couple weeks ago, I am not interested in playing in a practice squad.
Yeah.
Because I think a lot of people like, hey, Brim Middlecoff, are you guys interested in doing some fill-ins on radio? And the answer is no, right? Because that's not
on weekends.
No different. Like, it's not an interest, something that you look down upon. And Jonathan Cyprien, who started in the NFL, goes, I'm not a practice squad player. But I think if you change, like, practice squad is just extra roster spots that you wouldn't make, and you can get brought up at any moment. They could change the narrative of that. I wonder if teams are going to like this and push to change next year, like competition committee, because it just allows you more options to build your team. Like, you could still have, if they went back to 10 next year, have 10 developmental guys, or you could have 7 developmental guys and like 3 veteran guys that know your positions, right?
Cyprien's made almost $20 million in his career, John.
Well, I think he was a second-round pick, and then he signed some contracts.
Mayoko wrote if he made the team, he was going to make $9-10. You know what practice squad pays him if he's on the practice squad for the whole year? $204,000.
Yeah.
So not the worst chunk of change. And, at this point, you're looking around going...
He was going to make $910,000.
If he was on the 53.
Gotcha.
If he spends the whole year on practice squad, it's $200,000.
Gotcha.
But, at this...
Better than zero.
Better than zero, and it keeps the opportunities alive. In a year where... a 49er better than anybody else would recognize how quickly you could be on this active roster, given the guys who've been dropping like flies.
Well, Guy, I'd say if I was Kyle, and I would imagine this is what he told him, he said, Jonathan, come in my office. Listen, we do not have a 53-man spot for you. And maybe you're getting some practice squad offers. You're not going to sign a normal contract. Check out Jimmy Ward and Kwaski Tart's injury history. I'll promise you, if you just base on the last 3 years, you're guaranteed to start for us throughout the season, right? And he could say it with a straight face. Like, I'm not lying to you. Yeah. Both these guys go down.
Not to mention, we got a linebacker with COVID right now. Hopefully he doesn't give it to anybody else and he's back soon, but...
Yeah, well, if he couldn't play and we just need... We go more safeties on the field. We just have to mix it up and just do different shit. So he was a big hitter in college. I remember Brett Veach loved Jonathan Cyprien.
You know who else?
And it just...
Sorry, finish that.
No, I did. Brett Veach liked him.
Kevin White.
Yeah.
Juwan Jennings, who we've talked
Practice
a lot about.
Squad. Yeah.
Jared Maiden, who's the undrafted rookie safety from Alabama. But let's give a special shout-out on the Niners practice squad, John, to Josh Hokett, former CIF wrestling state champion in 2016 from Clovis, California in the Central Valley, played running back at yours truly's Fresno State. Had a single game, 3 rushing touchdowns. Reached number 3 in the nation as a high school wrestler at one point in time.
When you say that's not nothing, when Kyle Shanahan believes in you to be around his team, right? That's not out of the realm of possibility. He gets some touches in his career, correct?
Correct.
Do you know who this guy is?
I was not familiar.
Haven't watched
But
too
I
much
love
for
it.
the state football.
I have not called a high school football game in the Central Valley for
Decade?
8 years. Yeah,
That's Clovis West is where he went to school.
Clovis High.
Clovis High.
Yeah,
So that's what you say. That's more
Darryl
impressive?
LaMonica Stadium, John. That's where he played his high school football.
Darryl LaMonica went to Clovis High.
I believe. I mean, the stadium's named after him, so I've
You know
always
who
assumed
the
he did.
you know who the most famous Spanger Apache is?
Tom Flores.
Yep. Valley Zone. That was a good one.
That was Sanger, man. They got the tri-tip grill going out by the end zone.
Their
on
guy
Friday
Nico
nights in Sanger.
Mata, who was playing
Nico
when we were
Mata.
there. I think he's like their defensive coordinator now.
Really?
Yeah,
We should do a Central Valley football podcast.
we should. Well, the last year I went to do something at my mom's house, or maybe played golf. Probably not, because it was the winter. And I remember driving home on a Friday night from Sacramento to the Bay Area, and on 1140, which is the sports station there was a sweet
KHK.
high school rap, high school football show, just like break it 2 hours. They had a game of the week where the show was, and then they were just running through, and they were having coaches call in, like, coming up next, the head coach of the third-ranked Elk Grove Thundering Herd coming up next. It was
I used to do that every
sweet.
Friday night.
Yes.
We'd have the college football ESPN music going. We would get every coach on that won. We had people calling in like scores, right? You'd get them on the air like, we now go live to Sanger High School. John Middlecoff is there. John, what's the latest? And you'd hear like, in the background. It'd be like, well, Mike Smith just went 80 yards for a touchdown, 37-30, 3 minutes left here at Sanger. They'd be like, all right, let's go to Jeff Middlecoff. He's out at Clovis High. He's out of Kingsburg. Well,
It
yeah,
honestly,
Kingsburg,
it felt big when you're listening to it. Like a lot of action,
Well, here's
some
what people-
drums in the back.
for people who aren't California people or whatever, California's Central Valley football, specifically the Central Valley. I know LA's big and Northern California's big, but Central Valley football it's pretty big. In the Central Valley, it's massive.
Yeah, it's big.
I'm not saying it's Texas, but it's really big. It was a big deal.
I think Sacramento's probably not as big as the Valley in terms of passion, but it's pretty big, right? I mean,
Yeah,
they
it's
have a
just
national
bigger
power now in
area,
Folsom,
right?
Yeah, it's a bigger area.
So, although Central Valley, we're talking Bakersfield too, and all that stuff. So it's a pretty massive area too. Might be bigger actually when we plop everything in there.